Two best friends, just 13 and 14 years old, go for a simple afternoon walk on a hiking trail near their hometown. It was supposed to be an ordinary day, a few hours outside, fresh air, photos, laughter, and memories between two inseparable friends. They laugh, take photos, and record a short Snapchat video, a harmless moment, frozen in time, but hidden in the background of that innocent clip, a man can be seen following them. At first glance, it looks ordinary, easy to miss. Just another person on the trail, but within hours, both girls would be brutally murdered in the woods. And that tiny video clip would become one of the most haunting pieces of evidence in modern true crime history. Their killer left behind an audio recording of his own voice saying the chilling words, "Down the hill." This is the still unsolved Delphi murders, one of the most haunting and disturbing cases in modern true crime history. Abigail Williams and Liberty German were typical Indiana teenagers, full of life, close friends, and excited about the future. They were inseparable, the kind of best friends who spent nearly every moment together. They laughed together, explored together, and trusted each other completely. To everyone around them, they were simply two happy girls enjoying life. Abby Williams, 13, was described by everyone who knew her as sweet, shy, and incredibly artistic. She loved drawing. She loved spending time with her family, and she carried a quiet kindness that people instantly noticed. Her family called her their little sunshine because no matter where she went, she brought warmth with her. She was gentle, caring, and the type of person who always thought about others before herself. Libby, German, 14, had a different personality. She was more outgoing, more adventurous, confident, and bold. She loved taking photos and videos and documenting moments with her phone. Friends described her as protective, smart, and fearless. She had a strong personality and naturally took the lead in situations. On that February afternoon, it was Libby who suggested going on the hike. On February 13th, 2017, it was a cold but sunny Monday in Delphi, Indiana. The girls had the day off from school and wanted to enjoy the afternoon outdoors. They decided to visit the Monon High Bridge Trail, a popular local hiking area known for its old abandoned railroad bridge stretching high above Deer Creek. It was a familiar place for many people in Delphi, peaceful, scenic, and usually considered safe. Libby's father dropped the girls off around 1:30 p.m. The plan was simple: spend a little time on the trail, take photos, walk around, and then get picked up later that afternoon. Nothing about the day seemed unusual. Nothing felt dangerous. As they walked along the bridge and trails, the girls laughed and took photos together. They enjoyed the freedom of being outside without adults around. At 2:07 p.m., Libby recorded a short Snapchat video while standing on the bridge. It lasted only a few seconds, but those few seconds would later become one of the most important clues in the entire investigation. In the background of the clip, a man can clearly be seen walking toward them on the bridge. He appears distant at first, slow, calm, almost ordinary, but investigators would later believe this man was the killer, the final person known to have approached Abby and Libby alive. At the time, the girls likely had no idea they were in danger. To them, it may have just been another hiker on the trail, another stranger passing by. But something about the situation must have made Libby uneasy, because at some point, she secretly began recording audio on her phone. That decision would later become one of the bravest and most important actions in the case. When the girls didn't return by the agreed pickup time, their families immediately became concerned. Calls went unanswered. No sign of the girls anywhere on the trail. As the afternoon turned into evening, panic slowly began spreading through the community. Soon, a massive search operation was underway. Hundreds of volunteers joined local police officers to search the area. Search dogs combed through the woods. Helicopters scanned from above. Family members desperately hoped the girls were simply lost or injured somewhere nearby. But as the hours passed, fear continued to grow. Then came the devastating discovery. On February 14, 2017, Valentine's Day, the bodies of Abby and Libby were found in a heavily wooded area near Deer Creek, around half a mile from the bridge. Both girls had been brutally murdered. The small town of Delphi was instantly shattered. Investigators were deeply disturbed by the crime scene. Authorities have never publicly released the full details of the autopsy reports because of how horrific the murders were. What is known is that the killer forced the girls down the steep hill near the bridge. At some point during the attack, Libby managed to secretly capture audio from her phone, and on that recording, a man's voice can clearly be heard saying the now infamous words, "Down the hill." That short recording became one of the most chilling pieces of evidence ever released in a murder investigation, not only because it captured the voice of the suspected killer, but because it preserved the terrifying final moments before the girls disappeared forever. The case exploded across the United States almost immediately. Two young girls murdered in broad daylight on a public hiking trail in a small town where violent crime was rare. People could hardly believe it. The fear spread quickly throughout Delphi and far beyond it. The FBI joined the investigation alongside Indiana State Police. Thousands of tips poured in from across the country. Investigators worked tirelessly, trying to identify the man in the Snapchat video and match the voice heard in the recording. Police released sketches of the suspect, then later released updated sketches. Each release triggered nationwide discussion and speculation. But despite years of investigation, the case seemed trapped in mystery. For more than 5 years, there were no arrests, no public breakthroughs, and no clear answers. The families of Abby and Libby continued living through unimaginable pain while desperately waiting for justice. The case became one of the most discussed unsolved murder investigations in America. Online communities analyzed every detail endlessly. People compared sketches, voices, timelines, and theories. The haunting image of the man on the bridge became instantly recognizable across the country. Throughout it all, Abby and Libby's families never stopped fighting to keep the case alive. Vigils were held regularly. The community continued supporting investigators, and Delphi itself was permanently changed by the tragedy. A place once known for quiet hiking trails had now become associated with one of America's darkest unsolved mysteries. Then finally, in October 2022, authorities announced a shocking development. A man named Richard Allen had been arrested. Allen was a 50-year-old local pharmacy technician who lived very close to the trail, and according to investigators, he had actually been identified early in the investigation, but was not initially considered a major suspect. The evidence against Allen shocked many people. Investigators say he admitted being on the trail the day of the murder. Bullets found at the crime scene were allegedly matched to a gun he owned, and prosecutors believe he is both the man seen in Libby's Snapchat video and the voice heard saying, "Down the hill." The trial of Richard Allen began in 2024 and immediately drew massive public attention. Every court hearing generated headlines. Every new piece of evidence sparked intense debate online, and even years later, the case remains deeply controversial. As of 2026, legal proceedings are still ongoing with appeals, new motions, and fresh developments emerging regularly. The defense insists Richard Allen is innocent. They argue that evidence may have been mishandled and suggest there could be other suspects involved. Supporters on both sides continue debating the case fiercely. The Delphi murders remain one of the most emotionally charged and heavily discussed true crime cases in America. For the families of Abby and Libby, the pain never truly ended, and for the town of Delphi, the trauma of that February afternoon still lingers years later. Abby and Libby were just two normal teenage girls who went for a walk on a beautiful winter day. They never made it home. Their final moments were unknowingly captured on video, and their voices still echo through the investigation to this day. This case reminds us how quickly an ordinary afternoon can turn into a nightmare, and how important it is to stay vigilant, even in places that feel safe. Do you believe Richard Allen is the killer? Or do you think the real murder is still out there? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If you want more chilling true crime stories like this, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. A brand new case drops every single week. Thank you for watching. This is Ship Media. Stay safe out there.